Okay, if you haven't seen Dance Life, the television series that is currently on Prime, Amazon Prime, then you really need to check it out. It is so good. It's binge worthy, truly. Dance Life follows the top students of one of Australia's premier dance academies in their relentless pursuit to become professional dancers. And what I want to share with you on this podcast, Studio Biz and all that jazz, is the story and behind the scenes of some of the wonderful cast of Dance Life, but also behind the scenes of its executive producer and co-creator. So buckle up, friends, buckle up, because over the next couple of weeks, I am bringing to you Dance Life Unplugged. And this is going to be a series of interviews, not only with Jade Barnes, who you're going to meet today, the executive producer and co-creator of the show, but also with several members of the cast. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And it's not just about, TV and how that all works and all that fun stuff, because we are going to talk about that today with Jade, but we're also going to be talking about the industry itself, the stories behind the dancers, and what it's like to be inside of a full-time institution when it comes to dance education, what that's really like. And it's just phenomenal to see, the different intricacies and stories that have unfolded, not only on the television screen, but further from that. Because remember, this show was actually filmed a couple of years ago before its release. This is how long it takes to get some things onto screen. The post-production, the editing, all of that fun stuff that we don't think about when we watch something on television, right? So it's really cool to hear what's happened since, not only, the wrapping of filming, but then in that 2-year gap, what the artists, what the cast have been up to, what the co-creator has been up to, but also where they are now since the show dropped, and the opportunities and their lives and the fandom that has been Dance Life television series. Now, Jade was actually a guest on this very show 2 years ago, back in 2022 on episode 19. So if you want to flick back and have a listen to that episode, I would say yes, do it. It's such a great one. But having said that, so much has changed since then. She's really pursued her career with television, and I think it's such a wonderful evolution, which is definitely worth a share with you all today. Now, before we kick into that interview with Jade Barnes, just want to give you a little bit of background about Jade so you can get to know her before we start. Now, after a successful career as a professional dancer, Jade was the owner and principal of Planet Dance for 18 years. Her students have danced with superstars like Beyonce, become part of iconic groups like High Five, and starred in a vast array of musicals, including The Lion King, School of Rock, Matilda, Billy Elliot, and more. She began her career in television as a resident choreographer for Nickelodeon on shows like Slime Fest and Play Along with Sam. Jade has also worked on the production team of shows involving dance for Channel 10, Channel 9, Disney, and ABC. Now, she's a co-founder of Ready, Set, Dance, and she has worked as a producer, songwriter, and choreographer. Jade transformed the original dance program Ready, Set, Dance into a series for Nickelodeon that now airs in 120 countries and is dubbed in over 25 languages. She is currently a series producer on the docuseries Dance Life, which is featured on Amazon Prime. And that's what we're here to celebrate, everyone. She's also, the creator of Creative Bubble Productions. She's really gone down this television path, and we absolutely love that. It's exciting. We need to bring more dance onto Australian screens and bring Australian dancers to the worldwide stage. And that's what Jade Barnes does. So without further ado, let's kick into the intro, and then you get to meet Jade. Hello and welcome to Studio Biz and all that jazz. I'm your performing arts business coach and host, Josephine Lancuba. This show is designed to bring you inspiration, information, and the instruments you need to create and grow the studio biz of your dreams. I will bring you a mix of solo episodes as well as interviews where I tap into the minds of industry experts. My career started as a performer over 2 decades ago. I later became a speaker, theatrical producer, and talent manager, as well as having a successful teaching career in singing, drama, and dance. 10 years into my professional journey, I became a mama of 2, and with a baby on my hip, opened up my very own performing arts studio. From hardship and humble beginnings to 4 studio locations and a multi-6-figure performing arts biz, I know how to attract students and keep them coming back for more. And in the show, I will share with you my experiences to help you thrive and fast track your path to success. I know you have a spark inside of you with dreams and goals for the future. As your coach and mentor, I'm here to help you step into your limelight and be a cheerleader in your ear each and every week. So get ready to be entertained and inspired as we talk studio biz and all that jazz. I am so excited to have Jade Barnes on Studio Biz and all that jazz. Welcome to the show, Jade.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, it's been a while. The last time you were here was 2 years ago on episode 19. I think I'm on like episode 140 or so. I don't
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a while. So we've been chatting a little bit here and there in the background, but we've got so much to catch up on with our listeners, which is so exciting. Now, for everyone listening, I have been interviewing some of the cast of the television series now on Prime called Dance Life. And Jade here is not only the executive producer, but one of the co-creators of Dance Life television series. And we're very excited about that because it's been wonderful to see behind the scenes of our industry. And I think for too long, we've kind of had a different kind of view. Like I was speaking to Tiana Vassallo just on another interview today, and we were saying, the whole dance mums thing and all that it's great to see another side of it. What's your take on that? Like, this is such a different energy to one of those dance mums type of shows.
I definitely wasn't interested in producing a dance mum kind of show. And in fact, I have been offered to be involved in things like that before. But I think our industry needed Dance Life. They needed a positive look at dance. We needed some new role models to look up to and be inspired by. And Australian dance is just so amazing. Like, it needs to have a platform. And I think dance in general needs to be on TV more as well. So yeah, I'm so happy that it's been received so well. I'm so happy that not only the general community love it, but the dance community, well, they've been obsessed with it. I've got to tell you, some crazy stuff has been happening since it's been on air. So that just makes us all really happy.
Well, I binge watched it, I have to say. And I don't normally watch Amazon Prime that much. I'm more of a Netflix girl, but I have to say, I got Amazon Prime, so I've got to watch Dance Life. I have to watch Dance Life. This is a thing. And now I'm on there. I'm like, oh no, Amazon Prime's pretty cool.
It does have some great content on there, I have to say.
It does have great content. Yeah, I know.
Daisy Jones and the Six. It's a great show. There's a lot of good shows on Prime Video, but I think that Dance Life actually brought a lot of, I have the feedback that we brought a nice, different, younger audience to Amazon Prime too. So a lot of the dance community subscribed, which was fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's what you want, because when you create something like this, the whole point of you to get any sort of ongoing, and we'll talk about that later, hopefully when there's a season 2, but to get that ongoing fan base and that sort of thing, to be able to get that traction and bring in new audiences is so exciting. And like you said, Dance Life not only engaged the general public, but also the dance community. And we know that, like any sort of industry, it can be really hard to win over the people of that industry that you're sharing about, especially in a documentary mode. But before we jump into all things Dance Life, because I'm so excited to do that with you, let's just recap on who Jade Barnes is. Like I said, you were on our show many, many moons ago, but it's been a while. So tell us about, your background and where you've come from in relation to the industry as well.
Okay, well, I guess my background is I am a dancer. I was trained at under Glenda Yee, and I also am a University of Sydney law graduate. So an interesting mix, which I know a lot of dancers are as well. We change hats often. So I started my dance, I guess, journey after finishing uni and starting Planet Dance, my dance school. And it was supposed to be something that I was doing on the side while I was going to pursue my law career. But when I opened, it just went boom. And, I started with 66 students the first year, and the second year, I think I had 360. So it wasn't a part-time thing within 6 months. I realized not only is this something that could be very profitable, but I just loved it. And I was really in my teaching glory days at that point where I couldn't get enough teaching. I would teach as many classes as I could. I was teaching from preschooler to my senior students, privates, everything. And I'm obsessed with creativity. Nothing makes me more excited than hearing a piece of music and getting an idea of what I want to do. And that's my favorite thing to do as a teacher and a choreographer. So that's probably the only thing I miss, actually, not having the studio anymore. One of the main things I miss. So I had the studio for like 17 years and grew it to be one of Sydney's really successful studios. Sold it to an ex-pupil of mine who also became a teacher, Mitchell Hicks, and he's running Planet Dance now, which makes me so happy to see it continuing on and still having the magic that it's always had. And now I get to be like a VIP guest. I just get to come in at the concert or come and say hi every now and then, and I love doing that. So I guess that's my first chunk of, business life is really the typical dance studio journey that everybody, I guess a lot of your followers and listeners have that same kind of journey. A lot of us fell into having the dance school, wasn't really meaning it to be what it became. I
Well, you
think the
had it for
biggest we got was
18
about,
years, right?
yeah,
18 years is a
18
really long
years.
stint.
I mean, once you've done it for a long time, I think you start wondering, like, how could you ever leave it? Or is this just me? And I think my identity was Miss Jade for a very long time. And I loved it. But then it came to the point where I kind of needed a new challenge, and I felt like I was getting a bit stale, and I didn't want to give that to the students. I really wanted it to bring someone else in who had that new energy again, like I did when I was 24 when I opened it. So I guess that's the first part. But while I was teaching, I was always dabbling in TV, I would say. So it's kind of interesting how I fell into TV. I feel like a lot of people ask me this question because maybe a lot of studio owners are looking for other performance opportunities for students that aren't necessarily as Stedfords. So I get asked that question a lot, which is, how did you get started in TV? And I can tell you that story if you would like.
I would love it, for sure.
Okay. I guess the main thing would be connections. So I was a professional dancer before I opened my studio while I was at university. And there was one group of people that I connected with during that time. It was actually during the Olympics. And I was employed for all of the Olympics to be a chaperone of the Olympic mascots. I don't know if anyone remembers Sid, Millie and Ollie. And we did so many jobs. There was so much work. And it was run by Penny and Conrad, who a lot of people call P&C. They used to run every show in every Westfield in Australia for like years and years and years. And they have kind of created this weird alumni university of amazing connections. So just from that little group that I used to, group of 6 or 8 kind of girls that we used to do this job with, they have gone on to so many things that have been amazing in themselves, but also we've really networked and helped each other. So, I'll talk about Louise Telford, who is my bestie who runs Light the Way. She was one of the people at that time, and she was a big part of helping me get the TV show, or convincing Lucas to do the TV show, I will say. Jo Townsend is a very well-known TV producer, journalist. So when I had this idea, she was a person that I went to that helped me connect with a production company. So that was another person from my Olympics journey. funnily enough, my friend Melissa, who was in the echidna suit for all that time, she's now the member for Parliament in Penrith. So she actually came to our opening night because she was supporting some of our cast that actually live in her location.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was another weird connection. But the one that really, and my friend Denise, who is I think you might know Denise, but she's written some amazing best-selling books. One
What's
called
her surname?
Get Rich Lucky Bitch.
Oh yeah, Denise Duffield Thomas.
That's right.
I'm a big
She's
fan,
another person in this little group. So she was really a big supporter of the TV show as well. And then lastly, here's the real connection. So my friend Lisa, who was in the Kookaburra suit for the whole time, I was her dresser and chaperone. And when we finished doing all of that, she went to work for Nickelodeon. And one day I get a call from Lisa and she's like, Jade, I'm stuck. I need to get 10 kids to the city tomorrow. I need to dress them as Julia. I need to dress them as like Tony Abbott, Julia, all politicians. And can you get them there? You've only got 6 hours notice. Can you do it? I was like, okay, I'll see if I can convince the parents. Did it, went in, they went on, some morning TV show. They were great. The Planet parents were fantastic TV parents. They were and the kids were great talent. So just from that one day of helping someone out in a fix, the next time something came up, she said, oh, we're doing Play Along with Sam, which is Sam who was in The Wiggles, Sam Moran. He's got his own TV show. Would you mind just coming? And we've got all kids going to dance around with him and we just want you to help and see if you can fix it up a little bit. No worries. I went in, did that day. From that day, I got the contract to be the choreographer at Nickelodeon on all of the kids shows for the next part. But I will say a lot of that first bit was volunteer. And I know people are sometimes shy away from that and they think you have to get paid. But before you know how to do anything and before you actually know TV, I think it's really good to go and learn on the job and, offer your services. And if you prove yourself, then, your network grows and grows. The other weird thing I did is I won this competition. When So You Think You Can Dance was here, they had a competition for the best dance school. And it wasn't really the best dance school. It was who could do the best marketing, I'd have to say. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to really go for this. And, in my head, I thought I'm going to win this before I even started doing it. I knew I was going to win it. It was such a weird feeling. And I created a mini-me of all of the judges, like Paula Abdul, to the T, perfect outfit, perfect match of kid, made a great video, paid her for a professional video for this competition entry. And I remember, I'll never forget, I was shopping in Woolworths and they called me and said, you've won it. And not only have you won it, we want to bring all of your kids on this TV show now to sit with the judges on the day and film So You Think You Can Dance. And I thought to myself, I knew you were going to do that. I don't know why. I just knew because I'd literally provided something done for somebody. Here's something you can use that you don't have to organize. From that day, every time somebody in one of those shows needs kids, they call me. Even now, 15 years later, just this year, I got a call to do a similar one because once you get in there, they always call the people they know and they say, oh, I rang my friend who got you to do the So You Think You Can Dance mini-me judges and they said you'd be the best person. And now I'd like you to book 100 preschoolers on Jay's Jungle. So then I'm doing that and then I'm doing Disney. And when you just become known as that person, then you're in. That's, I guess, the journey for TV. But the first steps, I would encourage anyone, if you get offered to do something like that, jump in, go for it, because that's the best way to start the connections.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. And I mean, look, it's a big story and some people go, but I don't have those connections and all the things, but this was a process over time, right? We're talking, how many years are we talking here?
Yeah, 10 years. So, I think I did 5 seasons of Play Along with Sam where I go back every year. And at first, I'm literally the person behind the camera, just helping kids who are a little bit unsure and maybe dancing behind the camera, trying to get them to do it bigger. And then I'm gradually choreographing it. Then I'm in the meetings where they're planning what the actual, theme is going to be and what we have to creatively put together. So yeah, you definitely build your way up, and that's how you get your confidence, I think, doing it too. But say the competition thing, that was nothing to do with connections. That was literally just thinking, I'm going to have a go at this. So I guess anyone could do that.
Of Denise DT, from
Oh,
Denise
yes.
Thomas, how she talks about in her book, and I've met her in real life and been to like book launches and stuff, but she talks about being a winner of a competition.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And
A
how she
big
just knew she
competition.
was going to win. But like you, she went all in, right? So see,
She
I
quit
do
her job. I think she actually quit her job
she
thinking
quit her
she
job,
was
and
going to
she
win.
even like put her apartment up for lease because it was a tour around the world
Yes.
competition. She's like, yeah, we've got to manifest it. So let's just put our property up for lease. And then it was an insane thing, right? But she was so invested in this idea. And I think that's really interesting, because sometimes what we do is we say we want things, right? Even, it doesn't matter what level. We're not, you don't have to be the choreographer at Nickelodeon. We're not talking about that. It can be anything. It can be starting a new program in your studio, whatever. We say we want things, but we're not willing to go all in on it. So
Yes.
that's such an inspiring story of that. Now, obviously, you were the co-founder of Ready Set Dance, which was one of the conversations we had a couple of years ago, but a lot's changed since then. And now you're in your executive producer hat. It's interesting because it's quite a journey for you. You've gone all this way, a couple of decades of the industry to this new space, which is very, very different, because we're not even talking about choreographed in dance life. We're not talking about like choreographed.
I did no choreography in dance life,
Yeah,
nothing at
right.
all. Yes.
Right. We're talking now about pure television. This is screen work. So you've gone from a very stage orientated world, even, whether it be through studio programming, whatever the path was, very performance-based, stage-orientated world. You brought that stage to screen, right? You brought dance and stage to screen. And now it's about camera work. It's about getting the right shot, editing. It's very different, isn't it? So tell me about that.
Completely different. And I think, thank goodness, here's another connection. So one of our producers at Nickelodeon, he was really delving into the world of documentary, and he was winning amazing, like, national, international awards. And he is the director for the show that I connected with. Now, the amazing thing about Luke and I is that we are a perfect team together, because we have completely different skill sets. So everything to do with camera and, the whole process of shooting a proof of concept, learning how to sell it to, a platform, all of that was more what he had experience in. And he had a whole different set of relationships with people in, the film, because when you actually get this job, then you're going to have to hire people, and you're going to have to know which soundies to hire, which production managers, all of these kind of things. So I was just very lucky that I was in a fantastic partnership. And it really works well when the person can do opposite things to you. And again, I can do very opposite things to Luke as well. But I did make a very big effort to learn some editing this time. So when the show was wrapped, everyone was saying, oh, now the real work happens in the editing. And I was thinking, really? Because that was pretty exhausting what we just did for a year. And, filming that grad in episode 5, the amount of cameras we had, and all of that organization and the music licensing, there's a lot of business stuff that's happening behind the scenes here. I was thinking, surely we've done the hard part, but the post-production, that was a whole new world to me. And I'm actually not that tech savvy, I've got to say. It's not what I'm most confident in. And I kept saying to Luke, I don't know if I can do it. And we had an amazing edit assistant. I said to her, teach me one thing every day. So I would go in, and she would just teach me first how to get into the program. Then she would teach me how to look at it at 4 screens and look at all the cameras at once. And then she would teach me how to clip things and, make a little assembly edit. And of course, none of my editing is in the show. Definitely not at that level. But I became a very good resource, because I could watch hours and hours of dance and cut it down for everybody else that didn't really know what they were looking for as much to say, here's the best part of this rehearsal. Here's the best part of this concert. Here's the part, the camera captures the dance best here. Or just because I was on set the whole time and I know this cast so well, I remembered when things would happen. So I'd be able to find things a lot easier. But if I hadn't have pushed myself to kind of learn this avid program of editing, I feel like I would have done myself an injustice, because I've learned much more about filming even from doing that. You know, here's an interesting one. You know, you're filming the whole time and you're so worried about the action, and then you get into the edit suite and they're like, where's the transition where the kids are walking in the hallway to go in the class? Oh, I don't know. We started that day when Cassie started talking in the class. Oh, well, that's a bit of a problem because we have no way of getting in there. So, you know, obviously the more you learn, and my director was across that, but I didn't realize how important that was. I was thinking, oh, start when Cassie starts. Now I know from documentary, start as the first kid walks through the door, because you've got to have that kind of content to be able to edit it all together. You know, so it's just, yeah, definitely a massive learning curve.
Different world. Let's speak to that grueling television schedule.
Okay.
So, because like I mentioned today, I spoke with Tiana Vassallo, which is one of the cast members, and, you know, we've got that interview coming up, but she felt like she just walks into a room, she does her thing, and you guys are there doing your thing, and she didn't feel like it was a grueling schedule. But I know from her perspective as the talent could be very different to the crew.
Okay,
so
yes.
Let's speak to that, because, I mean, how long were you filming for? Because there was a 2-year gap between wrap and hitting the screens, right? That's massive.
Everything takes longer than you think. Everything takes longer. Yeah. So we filmed for a year. We filmed from the start of 2022, that first day that, you know, the full-timers walked through the doors. It's really important to be there that first day, because when you watch it back, they're so different to how they were at the end. You wouldn't have been able to, you know, mix that around, because it really, they were different people when they walked through the door, all the way till their graduation. So the end of the year. But we were not there every day. There's no TV budget that is going to pay for a docuseries to be, you know, anywhere for a whole day. What they like about this show is that it's a precinct show. So much like if you're going to do, you know, a show at a hospital or somewhere like that, there is a base location, and Brent Street was that. So that was easier than, we did go, you know, to homes, but a lot of the filming was in that one place at Brent Street Studios. So I'll half agree with Tiana, because I think people might, maybe just as dancers, we're used to doing really long hours, and studio owners, I'm used to that really kind of crazy schedule anyway. So I didn't find it worse than what I would normally do, but the cast definitely don't know what happens before and after they get there. So, you know, if their lessons at 10 a.m, we'll be there from 8 a.m. just to get all the cameras set up and everyone on, you know, knowing what we're trying to capture that day. And then when they finish, this is the bit I didn't know about, which is really not that fun, the data wrangling. You have to wait and get everything, make sure everything's saved, and it has to be saved in 2 places, and it has to go home with 2 different people. And, you know, sometimes we would be staying back with Cassie for a late night rehearsal for her hanging on piece in episode 5 till 10 o'clock. Then the cast would go home tired. Brent Street would be locked up. So we would go and sit like in a cafe or somewhere else and sit for an hour and a half to get all of the, you know, all the footage loaded. So that's definitely something the cast would never have really even thought twice about, which they shouldn't, because that's not their part. They just have to turn up. But yeah, the hours were a lot longer maybe than what they were doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, it's Josephine here. Stick around, this is a super quick break. Now, I just want to share with you that I am on socials and I would love to connect with you there. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I just recently launched on TikTok. I know, I'm super late to the party, right? But I'm there. So follow me and let's start a conversation. Now, on my socials, you can expect free informative industry content, great interview clips, plus inspiration, motivation, education, entertainment, and more. So let's connect. That's Instagram, Facebook, and or TikTok. Choose your poison. I'll pop a link in the show notes and let's connect on socials. See you there.
You mentioned being at Brent Street Studios to film this documentary. I would love to know, Brent Street has a reputation for being quite known in the industry as a place where people can go for full-time training and professional development. There are other studios that do the same, that have these similar programs, but why Brent Street? Why Brent Street Studios for this particular project?
You're trying to get me in trouble here, aren't you? It's like everyone wants to know that. I guess the answer is pretty simple. So my director, when I took this idea to him about filming a docuseries about dance, and I won't say, when I went to him, I didn't say full-time dance. He said to me, tell me everything about dance. Tell me everything dancers were doing. And I was telling him all different kinds of things in the industry, not just full-time dance. But when I spoke about full-time dance and how badly these kids want it, and what the stakes are, and how few can actually sustain a professional career longer than maybe 5 years, or how much they put in for what they get back. He was so intrigued by that. Like, the stakes are just so built in. So he was like, no, it's got to be full-time. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's a bit harder, because I don't run my own full-time school or anything. And I said, why don't I take you to all of them and you can see what you like? He said, no, you have to take me to the undeniable place that everyone would say first is the name that they know in Australia and has the longest legacy of producing professional performers. And I think there's amazing full-time studios all over Australia, and I'm friends with many other directors, and I love so much of what they do. But I think it would be very hard for anyone to say that Brent Street is not the undeniable legacy name that everybody knows, that has produced the most amount of professional dancers. So I felt I could back myself to say that. Also,
yeah, it's undeniable. It truly is, regardless of what your thoughts are, regardless of what your perception is, whatever your thoughts are in relation to what they do. It's undeniable they're a household name when it comes to full-time. So if you were searching for a full-time program, you would go, oh, there's Brent Street. I might Google some others and find out who else is out there.
Exactly what I was explaining to the director. And then let's also put into the mix, I believe they're the only studio whose facilities look like a TV set. So most of us...
Well, they're actually in an entertainment theatre. So it's designed for this sort of purpose-built entertainment setting. Yes.
Like the windows, the arches, the high ceilings, the locker hallways, the scale of it. If you were in like a cement box studio, like most of us have, my studio would have had bright orange walls on the sides the whole time, and that was 5 episodes. That would not feel how it felt to be in that Brent Street magic. And I'd say that's part of the magic. When students go there, a lot of them have come from all around Australia where they've got 2 rooms. Some of them say, oh my goodness, I've never had air conditioning. Like, they get so excited by the facilities, and it elevates the whole experience, I think, for, a learning environment. So definitely when, the production companies saw what Brent Street looked like from the inside, that was a major part of it. And I will say the talent, we still had to find the talent on top of that, even if it was the undeniable legacy school and it was the location. Obviously being in the middle of Sydney is also very helpful when everybody that works in TV lives right there. Say that's another major selling point.
Oh, totally.
But the talent, it wouldn't have worked unless we found that specific cast that came through the doors. So including Cassie, she was the first one that really gave the director the confidence to say, this is gonna be great, because it's not, I'd like to know how many teachers that we all know that if you put a microphone on them would teach the same. Would you think a lot more about what you were doing? Would you try and put on a different voice? Would you act kinder? Would you not give people any individual feedback? The thing with Cassie, she just taught the way she teaches. And for documentary, perfect subject for that.
That is interesting, because it's actually one of the questions I have here, all the questions I have, and that is, in a documentary style setting, which is it's sort of because of the nature of dance, it almost feels a little bit reality TV, but it's
Yes,
a doco,
people are
right?
saying that. Yeah,
Yeah,
people are
it's got a
saying that.
reality television feel in a documentary setting. Okay. And so sometimes what we see in reality television is when the cameras are on, people naturally adjust their personality. And it's not for anything except they're aware that there's a camera in their face, right? So you get an essence of someone sometimes, but not potentially their true self. And I want to know, because this is something I've thought about before, even like when I watch, Married at First Sight and all of those reality television shows.
Yeah.
How real are these people really?
Okay.
Like, okay, that we understand it. I'm not trying to say, diminish their authenticity or anything like that. But I'm saying, are they truly being themselves? Is there a point where they do just let go and completely forget the cameras are on, or can that not be ignored?
I love this question. I actually love it because it's different for everybody would be the answer. Someone like Cassie, she came in straight away and she was herself. Maybe she put a bit more makeup on than she might normally to teach. That could be something different, but a lot of times we caught her without her even knowing we were going to be there that day. So she rolled with it. She didn't say, sorry, I didn't know you were coming in today. She was like, come on in. Different cast, it took them a different amount of time. So Emily, from day one, Emily is Emily. Emily, what you saw is 100% Emily. And that is why so many people have fallen in love with Emily. She is so authentic. And a lot of people have told me that it feels like you're watching what it's like to be in full-time through Emily's eyes, especially in episode 1 when she's trying out for Jazz 1. And you are watching what it means for her to get into that. So, I'll tell you, for me, a hard part too also is not interfering in the process. So when Emily came out that first day out of Jazz 1 grading, and she was crying and saying that she didn't think she did very well and she felt like they didn't notice her and she wished she could go in and do it over and over again. And she was really upset. And the Miss Jade came out of me and I hugged her and gave her a big comfort and said, you did well. Don't be too hard on yourself, which is kind of why we have this amazing relationship, Emily and I. We're very supportive of each other through the process. But you're not really supposed to be doing that in docuseries. You're supposed to let them cry. You're supposed to let Emily be as upset as you can. So that kind of happened in the first week, and then I got the producer note not to be doing that again. So show care, but you can't interfere in the process. Same as when Cassie dislocated her shoulder on camera, and I wanted to go get the ice pack. I wanted to help her, but I had to not interfere in what normally happens at Brent Street when someone dislocates the shoulder. You have to just, this part is really hard. It's kind of getting away from what you asked me.
No,
Max
it
Simmons.
makes total sense. And I think that's really interesting. I've got actually Emily booked in for an interview next week, which I'm really looking forward to because I'm most connected to her. So that's really cool to find out that she was authentically being herself and
100%.
she was, because like she's not putting on an act or she's not being outside of that. Because I think, she brought me to tears. Like I just really connected to her because she is that girl next door and trying to make it in this big bad world of entertainment. And I think a lot of people can connect to that.
She'll give you some great updates as well. But I did want to say both Maxes are really interesting for this case. So Max Simmons did not trust us filming in the first 2 weeks. So and I'll have to say, everyone knows I'm the biggest Max Simmons fan, because without him, when he wasn't there on set, there was a bit of joy sucked out. Like, he brings so much joy every day when you're around him. But at first, he didn't trust us at all. And when we were miking him up, he was saying, like, are you going to make me the bad guy? Are you trying to get me to say something bad about someone? We're like, no, we're just seeing what you're going to say. But it took him about a good 2 weeks. And, he would tell you that he didn't have the trust. It took a little bit of time. By the end, Max probably was the most comfortable in front of the camera and was saying anything and was just, gave us some absolute amazing funny moments because he just had no filter by the end, but he was guarded. Max Osler, the Max Osler you see in the emotional scenes, that took a lot of months to get to that. In the first kind of episodes, you do see him by himself. You do see him guarded. He wasn't really telling us any of what he was feeling. So I would say he was putting up some kind of facade for the camera at first, definitely. And the actual amazing talent of my director was to get that breakthrough from Max Osler, because I think Max could have gone through the whole show being like, I'm all fine. Everything's fine. I'll just do my best and I'll never get injured. And if I'm not there, it does, we would ask him, if you're not going to be there for that grad, would that make a difference? And he would say, no, anyone could do what I can do. And we'd be like, really, Max? Can anyone do what you can do? But he doesn't want to boast. He doesn't want to say that on the camera. Oh, well, they'd have to do it differently because they can't do the technical elements I can do. So he was definitely putting on some of the answers that you'd want to hear, but the connection came to him when that lifted. And that just takes time. It just takes time for some people.
And I think that's fair enough in a way, because, unlike when, Big Brother first came out and all these other sort of series many, many years ago, when we didn't really know what these docuseries or reality TV shows were, there were villains, and so now people get the villain cut. That's
the villain edit or whatever. And the kids were asking us that. I always say kids, dancers. The dancers were asking that all the time. Who's the villain?
The villain cut? Yeah.
Who's the villain? They were asking.
There was no villain. There was no villain.
That's the great feedback we have, is there is no villain, because the excitement and the nerves came from the situations they were putting in and the pressure that was there and the rejection. And it wasn't one person being the villain. Cassie was worried at start, maybe she's going to be the strict teacher. Are we going to edit just all of the strict things she says and not show how much the kids absolutely worship her and how much care she does and everything she does beyond the classroom? No, we're not going to, because we're going to show the real Cassie. We're not going to edit her just to be the strict teacher.
And she does have a controversial style of teaching, but I will add that it's very obvious that the children respect her. And so know that, yes, she's firm. She's firm. You can't deny that. She's a firm teacher and choreographer. And some people don't like that style. She definitely gets the best out of the room, but they obviously care for her. And there were sides where, she's cuddling them backstage and giving, and you can see, okay, there's a yin and yang here. It's not just.
Yes.
And so I think
and also
that's important.
They are 18. I think there's a big distinction to make between some of the shows of the past, in that, when we were filming, these guys were adults. They weren't 9 or 10.
Yeah, she's not going again to a 4-year-old.
no. That it's adult. And also, if you ask them, they'll tell you they actually want that style of teaching. Interesting. People might think this generation don't, but most of them will tell you, I needed it, because to go to full-time every day for a year, it's hard to keep. Everyone says there's a bit of a slump in the middle where you're feeling a bit like, that term 3 kind of like, oh, it's not grad yet, and I'm right, it's freezing cold and I'm here, and people like Emily and Kim are driving 2 hours every day to get there, and they're getting like kind of a bit tired. They need someone that's not only, I guess, with a more disciplined approach to teaching, but Cassie's keeping track of where everyone is. No one's missing Cassie's class, and that's actually a great sign that a teacher cares, because a teacher that doesn't care probably wouldn't even notice that you didn't turn up for 3 Wednesdays in a row, So, yeah.
And it's a different thing. Like, it's not a recreational group. This is professional development. I think it's really interesting. Let's go on that little tangent there, because, seeing what you saw behind the scenes in Brent Street Studios, right? Mm-hmm. Very, professional development environment. Like, you've got these firm teachers and dedicated students. And knowing what you know of the industry, what's your take on the pressure cooker that is an industry? Like, is it necessary? Like, what's your thoughts on this pressure cooker environment that we have on our young emerging artists?
I would say that if you are there to try and be a professional dancer, I think it's the best practice you can possibly get, to go and do gradings or mock auditions, because, I mean, I watched them, and this is not in the show, do a mock audition for Wicked, and they learned, you know, some of the singing from the show. They learned some of the, like, how you would try and do lifts if you were put in a room like that. And some of them really struggled, and some of them, it was the first time, you know, especially, let's think about lifts. You come from a dance school where there's one boy, you know, and there's no one. How are you going to have practiced lifts before you get into this casting where suddenly you're in a professional casting and some, you know, male ensemble member is put next to you and you have to do a lift and you've never done it in your whole life? I think you should put yourself in the pressure cooker and practice before, you know, it even happens. And then it was very strange to us that we watched, we didn't put this in the edit, but we watched this whole Wicked mock audition, and then at the end Connor actually got into Wicked, and he'll say how amazing. Oh yeah, I think you're going to talk to Connor too, so you can talk to him. I won't spoil that, but you know what a great advantage he had from being in a pressure cooker practice to how to get into Wicked, and then he got into Wicked. So I think that's needed. I also would say, yes, some of the teachers at Brent Street are more strict discipline kind of teachers, but there's a massive balance. I mean, Tanos's class, you know, we could just go film Tanos every day, it's like for our own fun as well. You know, he is like a ringmaster of a circus, watching what's happening. Great for TV, but also just great. What a great teacher. And that balance and that fun, there's that happening every day as well. It's not all strict. You know, I'll have to give a shout out to Miss Veronica, because she only ended up being like one tiny line in the first episode where she says, "Must the old lady show you," after she pulls off the perfect little turn in her musical theatre class. But I could have done a whole edit just of Veronica, because she had the best, like, old school teaching line. She would say, "Listen to the gold dripping from my lips." And I found it so funny, but apparently it's more like an inside joke, you know, like the dancers, we find it funny.
How do you pick that?
Well, when the edit gets sent back to Amazon, they say, "We don't get it." When I'm laughing my head off and they're like, "We don't get it." You know, like even Lucas said, when we kept having to ask from Amazon, "What is jazz?" Because the community might think jazz is like, I don't know, well, you've got jazz in your title as well, like a Broadway, or maybe jazz music. Like they don't understand
I
what
think
is
most
jazz.
people would put that word to music, not
jazz hands.
dance.
Yeah, music, jazz hands. So we kept asking everyone to explain jazz. It's a really hard question to answer, really. Like, what's jazz?
I mean,
dance?
even in my title, all that jazz, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know, this,
I know.
This and that and all that jazz, right?
And all that jazz. And you know, Lucas we put his little blooper up because he said, "In my time, being a jazz dancer was being a backup dancer for Janet Jackson." But, you know, and that was my life goal, by the way. I was going to say never, but, you know, I think that day's passed. Like, it was just we were laughing because, you know, thinking everyone of our age wanted to be a backup dancer for Janet Jackson. That was the, like, dream jazz job.
The epitome of success.
You would have really made, like, there'd be that's it. You'd only need to do that once and you've made it. And I was like, put that in. All the jazz dancers will be like, yes. And, you know, the feedback would come back from Amazon. "This is an inside kind of joke. No, you know, no one here understands what you're saying." Oh, okay. You know, so things that I'm laughing my head off. I might address a controversial one. Should I do this as well? Something that's had a bit of.
I love it.
Okay. There's a line that Cassie says, and the way she said it has been misinterpreted. And I find it very funny how she said it, but she's copped some heat for this one line. I'm actually gonna defend her for this.
What's the line?
The line is, well, I've got to get it right how she says it. You know, something like, "Come on, you've got to get it. We've got to get it together and learn faster than that. You're not at Debbie's dance school anymore." So
okay, I get that.
Okay, so straight away I'm thinking, you know, when you're at any local dance studio, you practice the same dance for, you know, all term to then go do the Eisteddfod, or, you know, 2 terms.
All year to do the
all
concert.
year, and then you just keep practicing it. At full time, they're like learning stuff like so quickly, and then they've got to perform it and then do the next thing. And Cassie was getting frustrated saying, we don't have time to do a whole term on this. Like, this is it now. You're not at Debbie's Dance School anymore. And some people thought that that was like an insult to all the local schools, all the Debbie's Dance Schools, which is not. And then people are even writing, Cassie, that's horrible. Your mum even owns a Debbie's Dance School, because Cassie's mum is a studio owner. So, I mean, I'm almost laughing about it. If that's the worst kind of heat we got.
I'm laughing about it.
Are you laughing?
That's funny.
Okay.
I find that a hilarious line.
I know. So did I. In the edit, I supported it. But then I was like, sorry, Cass, like, you popped it for that one. But I think if that's the worst, it would be like, you know, come on. And also, I will say, if you go to any Brent Street graduation, in the program, Lucas acknowledges every, shall I say, Debbie's Dance School that the students have come from. So in the program, in the program, it has the headshot and it says trained by, and it lists the dance school from every state in Australia. And he always says it on stage, thank you for trusting me. Like, he believes he's the icing on the cake. He doesn't want to take credit for all that training that's come before it. So certainly the Brent Street philosophy is nothing like, oh, it's not Debbie's Dance School. So I hope that everyone will believe me when I say that. It was probably an editing little thing that Cassie might have, you know, that she's on the wrong end of.
I actually really respect that. I didn't realize they did that. And it's a good thing, because, sometimes people come to them at 16 and been training for like, 12 years prior. So to say that you created that artist is not true.
Yes.
You're a part of their development journey. So that's actually really cool. I have to give them credit for that one. That's very cool. Hey, it was International Women's Day recently.
Oh, yes.
And I was following, stalking you on socials. You mentioned actually that, people were talking about, women in the workforce and all this sort of thing. And you said in one of your comments, and this is not verbatim by any means, but something around the lines of that you were really one of the only women on set when it came to crew. There are others. Predominantly a male environment. So that was an interesting adjustment from such a female-dominated space. I mean, like, with your when you were with Ready Set Dance, it was a very female-dominated business space.
Yes.
Studio, I'm assuming
it was proudly a female,
proudly
a female space. Yeah. I would say I was pretty shocked, to be honest, at the representation, especially when you're in the boardrooms. Definitely, I was very regularly the only female at the table. And I'll say I needed to be there, because there were certain things that were discussed, just like, and actually the other people in those meetings would often ask me for my opinion on certain things and really value it. Having me in that space, I think, I felt very appreciated, which was great. I will say, when I was teaching, I had this one female student, Chelsea, and she finished at year 12 and never danced again. We've all had these students, but those ones that you're thinking, you're meant to do something great. You could be the Prime Minister. You could be anything. Like, you are just spectacular. So when I first decided I was going to do this, and knowing that I financially backed some of this myself and I had to give it a go, I said, Chelsea, I know you're running your own internet company and you're doing marketing and all of these things, but would you come with me to have a go at doing this show? I said, don't answer me straight away. I know your company's going great. Just have a think about it. She said, I don't need to think about it. Anything you do, I want to do. Okay. First day, she turns up on set, and she's just thrown in there. So she's miking people. By the end of the first week, she's wrangling the data, which I would be so nervous to be like, in charge of the whole budget of the day's footage. She's doing that. By grad, she's running her own camera team. She was the audience assistant producer for grad, because she's just that kind of person. To have another female in the space, especially in a space that's 90% female. Yes. So she was someone I really wanted to bring more people in. And now that I feel that I've done this, and whatever I go to do next, I'm going to insist to have more, because I feel like I'm getting more of a say in that now. I will be able to. There's only a couple of well-known female camera operators and a couple of female soundies that everyone recommends. Now, you think about what those girls were wearing, and actually all cast members are wearing. A lot of the time, even as executive producer, I'm miking because, you know, it feels more appropriate than, you know, the really experienced male sound engineers. So I was just trying to do my post to say, if there's anyone thinking of going into TV, and maybe not so much even the producer, think about the camera, think about, you know, think about the demand when I'm in a meeting saying, is there a female camera operator we can have backstage in the dressing rooms? And they're like, there's one or two, but they might be booked. Like, I want to encourage young women who are thinking about film and TV, look at all of the areas, because I think you're going to have a massive opportunity. But, you know, there's a demand. So
I love that so much. That's really, really cool and very interesting too. How did it feel being one of the only women? Like, was it intimidating? Was it okay? Or how did that feel?
I definitely won't say intimidating. I'm a pretty bossy, confident person.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah. But also my director, Luke, you know, he is a queer director, and he, which is another minority in the executive TV space, I would say.
Right.
And he would never, the last word you could ever say would be intimidating for him. He's the most generous, I don't know, magical person to work with. So definitely, being under his lead, I wouldn't say intimidating. I would say that I just felt kind of weird because I'm not used to it. I'm used to having women all around, you know, and there's a couple of examples. One would be, here's a really weird kind of TV thing. Do you know on TV they blur out the number plates when people are driving because they don't want, you know, and I think one number plate wasn't quite blurred. And they were like, do you think that's okay, Jade? And I was like, absolutely not. Go back, spend the extra money, put it back in edit, because these, you know, this was a female cast member. Everyone knows where she's training. Everyone knows where she is. And we have had some pretty insane fandom come from this show. So, you know, I don't want to put anyone's safety, you know, in jeopardy. And as a woman, I've had an experience where someone waited for me at a car. So I straight away connect to that as a woman. And as soon as I said it, everyone in the room was like, absolutely. Yes, you're right, Jade. Absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, I don't think it's intimidating, but I just think we need to be there. I just think our voice needs to be there.
Let's talk about the Dance Life fandom, because you just mentioned that. What is the fandom? What's happening since the show aired?
I'm still shocked at the fandom. I didn't realize it was going to be this big. It's bigger than anything I've experienced before, and it's for the cast, I have to say. Sorry, Lucas, I don't think it's about, you know, everyone wanting to go like to Brent Street, although Brent Street has had a beautiful spotlight put on it, and everybody is very Lucas is thrilled by the support he's got from the dance community. He is so thrilled, but it's the cast. They are experiencing like a really fun level of fandom, I would say. You know, they're getting stopped a lot of places to get photos in really random kind of places. They are getting, I guess in the day of social media, the main thing is the millions of messages that they get, you know, especially Emily. Please ask her about her DMs. Tiana had a very powerful DM as well. But, you know, there's a lot of that happening. Max Osler is in Hollywood right now. And there's so much interest for him in America from the show. I don't think, ask Connor about what happened for him too, someone that reached out from the UK. But even like the little celeb fans that have come forward and, you know, kind of befriended the kids, the cast, given them opportunities. I think that's been really exceptional. Here's a funny one. We're doing workshops at the moment, so we're selling our workshops with the cast. And yesterday, a mum from America bought like a whole series of the workshops that are happening here in Sydney and Melbourne. And And we were like so puzzled. And then she messaged saying, I know you're not coming to America for the workshops yet, but could you just put a phone or a Zoom or something in the corner? I'll pay anything. My daughter is obsessed by this show and she's desperate to be in this workshop. And I was thinking, really? Like, that just even seems crazy to me. Like, no, we're not Zooming these ones, but maybe we should do something. Maybe we should do one because, you know, Cassie will put on the page, where are you watching from, on her Instagram, and 1,000 messages will come from every country. And we're like, and some of the countries that we've been really popular in are very strange as well. Like, excellent in Cambodia, excellent in Rwanda, excellent, like you don't expect that. But I think I'm most proud about Canada because, you know, it's a big market. We did really well in Canada, in the top 10 for a long time there. I'm not sure. I don't know many Canadian dance schools. I'd like to connect with them because apparently I think the Australian dance scene is quite similar to Canada. So that's why it went well. But
yeah, it can be super random when it comes to that sort of thing. I mean, this show has charted in Ghana, Mexico.
Is it?
And I'm like, I don't get it, but okay. Thank you for listening.
You know why? There's dance schools everywhere. They live the dance life everywhere. And also, even people who aren't interested in dance can connect to cast members like Emily, no matter what they're doing. There's people, you know, on TikTok that have never danced before, sending Emily a clip of them doing jazz grading, saying, thank you, Emily, you have inspired me. And it's just, you know.
That is insane. What would you say to studio owners that have watched the series, you know, if there's any, you know, key lessons or something from your experience through this, what would you say from this whole dance life experience? Any key takeaways you can share from an educational perspective potentially?
Yeah, if I was, you know, back in my studio owner days, when we are in the classroom, we don't see what happens when kids go home and discuss what happens in class. And what I did for a year was go home with these cast members. So I'd be there and then I'd be home with them and I'd hear how they talk to their families about class and I'd hear how important things are. And I think the main kind of advice I would be is to try and acknowledge people as much as you can, because I was surprised how the tiniest little acknowledgement, you know, in the middle of a combo or a corner work, like what that did to a student. So that positive reinforcement, I think I'd go back and do a lot more of it because I'm amazed how transformative it was. I was pretty shocked by it. Or people that feel that they aren't being seen, you know, what that does to them. And I think the teachers, you know, at Brent Street, because they're doing all different classes, different teachers acknowledge different kids in different styles because everyone's different at different things. So, you know, they do a good job overall, but I think it's just, you know, being with Emily, being with her amazing grandparents. When Emily was filming, and I don't know if she'll tell you this, nobody at full-time knew her story. So Cassie didn't know, none of the teachers know, none of the other students knew. So they're not thinking, oh, Emily might need a little bit of extra care. Or, you know, Emily said to us at one point, this filming is a lot for me because no one's ever paid me this much attention before. So the camera was almost like a therapy for Emily. But we're interesting because we know everything that's happened in Emily's life. And then we're watching her fight it out in these classes and how strong she is. But the teachers didn't know that. And she wasn't ready to share that. And I'm wondering whether as teachers we need to maybe be on the lookout and think there may be an Emily in every class that has, like, you know, a family situation like Emily has and is overcoming it, but maybe they're there. So let's just err on the side of kindness in case is kind of what I'm thinking, and encouragement.
Yeah, I like that. And that acknowledgement piece is very powerful and so simple, right? So simple, everyone can do that. Before we wrap up today, I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions that I ask all my guests, and I love to feel inspired by these responses. So,
oh, I have no prep on this, so I have no idea what you're going to ask.
That's all right. That's okay.
Anything could happen.
That's what we like. How do you define success?
I define success as waking up with a purpose, feeling happy to go to work, and creating things that other people enjoy. I'll say. It gives me great joy when I see this fandom happening, because I'm like a super fan of TV shows and things as well. Like, I love that. So when I feel like that's happened and it's something I've created, that feels very successful to me.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, again, it's about that purpose. You talk about others and that fandom, and that's really cool. Who or what inspires you most? Who or what inspires you most?
Oh, I've got some amazing mentors in my life. Glenda is definitely one. She held my hand through this whole thing. So I think everyone needs Glenda and Louise, you know, my two kind of, and my best friend Tiffany, who, you know, you need a cheerleader that just kind of, no matter what you do, is the biggest supporter. You know, when you have a new project and you post it, you're that first friend that just like reposts and shouts it out to everyone. I feel like that's a person that I'm inspired by. I want to be more like that myself as well. I'm inspired by female producers now. I'm looking more into, you know, what that is. You know who I love? Greta from Barbie. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm obsessed with the Barbie movie, and I'm obsessed with what her and Margot had to do to make that movie. And I love finding out all about that. And then I see them at the Oscars getting snubbed and I feel annoyed. But then I also think, no, you had the highest selling movie of the year. And, you know, I went and watched it twice in the cinema. I could watch it again. Yeah. So directors, producers that are females. And I also love, I like podcasts. So, and I like, I really like Diary of a CEO. That's a random one I'll throw out there.
Oh, I just read that book actually.
Yeah, I've got the book too. I love that. It's kind of really easy to listen to and easy to read.
Yes, totally.
And just little, what do they call it? Snack size kind of things to go away and say, sometimes you think, I actually do that. And other times you think, I'm going to take that one away. So yeah, if anyone's looking for
I'm totally into a Diary of a CEO. I've got a book club with a group of entrepreneurial women that we do once a month, and each month we have a different book, and last month was that one. So I started listening to the podcast, and I do find that sort of stuff very helpful, like just listening to different podcast perspectives, reading books and that sort of thing. So that's cool. We got some vibes going on there. And so what's next? What's next for Jade? Anything in the pipeline? Is there a series 2 coming of Dance Life? Like, what's happening?
All I can say is, you know, I'm in a lot of meetings. I can't say anything, and it's not just about this. I'm in a lot of development meetings at the moment for all kinds of things, which is exciting, but that's the hard bit of TV as well. It takes a long time for anything to get greenlit, and it's not even just about a show. It's about, you know, there's new quotas that are coming in for the platforms that Netflix and Amazon and everyone have to abide by. That's affecting who's getting commissioned. There's, you know, offsets and the budgets behind things. I love learning all about that, but all of it takes a long time, and edits take a long time. And then, you know, so there's, if all your favorite shows, you always wonder, why does it take so long to get the next one up? Like, I hate that. I'm always like, where's the next Bridgerton? What's, like, why is this taking so long? But I can see now why everything is quite slow in the TV process. So I'm in lots of meetings.
To that, if the opportunity arose, and I know you can't say yay or nay, but would you do a second series if that opportunity was there?
Look, I loved it. I loved every part of it, especially the filming. I would love to do some form of other, you know, something more with this brand. I'd love to do something more with dance. I'd love to, you know, I'm looking at things that are dance and not dance at the moment, but I you know, you've got to go where your heart is. And I loved it. I loved the experience. So of course I would love to. It won't be my decision. So, and I don't have a decision to say. So that's very hard, because I'm used to being a bit more in control. So that's hard. But what I am doing at the moment, what's happening right now, is this workshop tour I'm doing with all of the students. And so nobody else from the TV show is really joining me on that. That's kind of my part afterwards. And it was something I negotiated in the contracts. But I'm going to love it. I'm going to love going back into the studio, watching the cast dance. I'm the biggest fans of their dancing. They know I'm like their second dance mum now, so I'll be cheering them on. But I want to see them meet fans. I want to post everything about it on social media. I want to inspire kids. I think that what Brent Street does so well is choreography and musicality, and I want to bring that in a workshop. I don't want it to be focusing on technique that they should be doing with their teacher. every week and extra ballet classes. I want it to be like that performance quality that this Brent Street cast have. And I want to see what dancers from, around Australia, when they're put right next to some of my amazing cast, I know it's going to lift them instantly. And I'm like, you can see how excited I am about it. I'm
totally.
Genuinely really pumped to go do it. We just don't have as many dates as I want. I'm hoping to get some.
So when
dates.
is it? How can people jump in?
It's in the April school holidays. So we actually have an Instagram Dance Life series that are posting a lot of information about what we do, a fan account. So that's the best place to connect and connect to all the cast members because they are always posting. So we're doing it April school holidays. There's still some tickets left. Some are sold out. But I'm trying to add a couple of other dates and trying to get to some other states too. So hopefully I can
Dance
do that.
Life series on socials. That's the best place to go. We'll pop a link in the show notes for
everyone
as well. Yeah,
that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you so much for coming on to today's show. And, this is kicking off a series of interviews with some of the much loved cast of Dance Life. I'm really excited about that. And I really appreciate you making this possible. So I just want to say a big thank you.
Thanks so much, Jo. And I think I'm going to have to give you some little secrets so that you, when you interview the next cast, you have some insider info to talk to them about.
I would love that. All right. Well, we'll do that off camera.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Studio owners, would you like to be able to offer your students and community opportunities in film, television, theatre, commercial, on stage, in musical theatre, and more? Well, you can. Right now, most studios receive auditions and opportunities via email, but they don't really have a strategy around it. They don't have an in-house talent management service. They certainly don't receive any kickback or revenue or commission from the bookings if their students book the gig. They simply flick the email to the talent and say, hey, here's the audition, go for it. But what if I told you that you could actually make talent management a strategy? You could turn it into an additional revenue stream. Not only can it increase your studio's revenue, having an in-house talent management service or talent agency, but it can also increase your student retention and your industry credibility. Now, for a limited time, I am offering myself up, yes, offering myself up on a platter to show you the ropes when it comes to how to tangibly create an in-house talent management service. I am the creator of the world's only course that teaches studio owners how to go from studio owner to talent manager. Right? This is a world first. I've been doing it for a couple of years and no one else does it because, it's breaking the glass ceiling of the entertainment industry. It's making the arts and professional industry accessible. Not everyone wants that, but I do. So I'm an advocate for artists, I'm an advocate for talent, and I want you to be able to provide those opportunities, but also make it an opportunity for your business. So, Talent Manager Bootcamp doors are not currently open. However, I am offering myself privately through one-on-one coaching through a Talent Manager Intensive. This is a 3-month coaching process where twice a month for 3 months, you will get me as your one-on-one coach online. The schedule is your choice. You book through my calendar, super easy there. You'll also, for a limited time, get the lessons, the pre-recorded lessons of Talent Manager Bootcamp. So you get me one-on-one and you get the pre-recorded modules of Talent Manager Bootcamp. Within 12 weeks, you could be operating your very own in-house talent management service. So what are you waiting for? Contact me now. I'll pop a link in the show notes to my emails. Shoot me an email. It's hello@josephinelancuba.com, or you can book a free 15-minute discovery call, have a chat with me, and let's nut it out. Let's have a conversation. Ask me all your questions and away we go. Go from studio owner to talent manager. It's totally possible. Create your dream studio today. This episode was brought to you by my signature group coaching program, Studio Biz Success. an amazing and accessible online educational platform for performing arts studio owners designed to help you grow your business with confidence and get your results. Check it out at josephinelancuba.com, along with other great industry resources to help you leap into the studio biz you deserve. If you love this episode, be sure to share it with your friends. You can tag me on social media at Josephine Lancuba and give it a review. Your support helps the show to grow so I can continue to provide you with useful, informative content. I'm Josephine Lancuba, your biggest cheerleader. Thanks for listening and shine bright.